I think while it's funny to joke about this stuff, I unfortunately have to talk about it because it is happening, and it has been happening since September 11 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever.
Right.
September 11th after the Patriot Act. So it's time to get going, guys. This is a weird space we've entered as a country.
Oh, yeah, no, this is totally, yes, the new normal is some weird Twilight Zone thing, and if you were to bottle this up and show it as a movie and, showed it to people back in 1985 or whatever, they would never believe that our country could go in this direction and be this far gone, and they would see the people just going along with it and, accepting it as normal, and they would just be like, oh, come on, that could never happen in America. But I guess if you can just slowly condition people, it's amazing, where we've gone in the last 20 years. It's very... And 2025, anyway.
Well, you're saying if they could watch it in 1985, what about 1984?
Right.
George Orwell.
Fair enough.
I mean,
yeah.
We were warned. Come on, we were all warned about this crap. But some people said, no, that's just Doctor Who or Star Trek. That ain't real. No, come on. It's not like that would ever happen. Well, they're telling the story because it has happened. People don't need to believe everything about their particular holy book of preference, whether that's the Bible or some other book. You don't need to believe every single component of it, but take the story for what the story is and realize there's a lesson to be learned by learning this story. If you do this type of outcome should be expected. Good things will happen or bad things will happen. And so if a nation like us, whether it's Rome, whether it's, Atlantis, if you go back far enough and believe that there may have been other advanced civilizations on this planet before, if you just look at the fall of Rome, they wanted to be Team America World Police. Check. There was corruption and graft in government and politics. Check. People were wowed and distracted by stuff going on in the Roman Colosseum where people were battling life and death like Total Recall. Or what was that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Running Man.
Yeah.
Where reality TV show to these people is people getting killed, like going to watch live faces of death. That's how gross and disgusting the culture and civilization had turned in Rome. You can read the Bible and understand the types of stories, whether you subscribe to its dogma or not, that's up to you. But, these common stories are told to us, whether it's 1984, George Orwell knew. We see what happens with Mao, with Hitler, with Stalin, with all of these huge governments that start to do things that our government has started to do for the past few decades, maybe longer. And it's not working anymore, and we need to kind of learn these lessons, Blake.
Yeah, Germany, Russia, England, Rome. I mean, they have all risen and fallen, and yes, and we're following that exact same parallel, so it's pretty frightening. And we never thought it would happen here, but yes, we've slowly gotten corrupted and accustomed to it, and we just accept it as the new normal. And yes, and then now you got people, like you said, the bread and circus. You got so many people. Speaking of bread and circus, I got a talking point for you. I don't know if you want to jump into this now. Speaking of which, you got a lot of people that aren't paying attention to what's going on. They're just obsessed with trivial things. You see people that are just obsessed with, reality TV and sports and video games, and they're not paying attention to what's going on. And that, and Brian, do you remember that? What was that cycle? You were telling me about the cycle. I don't know if you remember that offhand, where you go from a prosperous society to a decadent society where you slowly. It's like. What do you remember exactly what the talking points were on that?
Hang on, are we talking about the super long quote?
No, it's about 5-6 things. Like at first, it's like a prosperity, and then it goes in what's next. You start to get complacent, and then they start to I forget. But it's a cycle of breaking down how people get accustomed to being prosperous, and then they get lazy, they get apathetic, and then
you're getting real close, man. You're getting real.
I don't
close
remember
to
them,
it.
so it's close. But anyway, yeah, look, we're at that last stage, it seems like, and the pendulum has got to swing the other way at some point. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to slide and get worse and worse. And of course, we're seeing the fiscal cliff coming up, and all kinds of stories so floating around. With the meltdown of everything going on with the military, all the endless wars, the economy teetering on collapse. You got a fiscal cliff coming up.
Okay.
I don't know.
Here's where it is. Alexander Tytler, Tytler. Great nations rise and fall. The people go from bondage into from bondage into spiritual truth, from great spiritual truth into great courage, from courage to liberty. Where are we at? We've had liberty, 1776, so it goes from liberty to abundance. I think we had an abundant 100 or 200 years in this country, from abundance to selfishness. Now, this is a different phraseology than the other times I've pulled this up online. From selfishness to complacency, from complacency to apathy. Do you feel like people don't care anymore, Blake? Weren't we just talking about that?
Let's go back. Go back a couple of them, because that seems like the selfishness. That seems like the 80s, and then the 90s is the next one. What is that one?
Well, I'm gonna pull up this.
If I can go,
abundance
it almost seems like decade by decade.
Yeah, so like,
well, selfishness, maybe the 80s. Maybe we're getting a little arrogant.
Okay, and then how about the grunge era? Selfishness turned to complacency.
Yeah, that would be the 90s. Yeah.
And apathy.
Apathy,
which
2000s.
Is the 90s. Oh, I guess.
Okay.
Well. And then from apathy. Oh, okay, maybe you're right. Then apathy to dependence. That's the 20-teens.
Ooh, that's the giant. Yes, that's the welfare class, the dependent class.
47 million people on welfare.
Yeah.
Trying to keep taxing the few people that are still working, and that number gets smaller and smaller. But with record profits at the very top of things. And then from dependence back again into bondage. So
that's where we're at. We're at that dependency towards bondage phase right now. So, and hopefully we can reverse that course before it gets any worse. But I think that's the exact course we're going on. I don't think anybody, I don't care if you're the biggest Obama supporter out there, I don't know how you can possibly get up and say, that things are honestly, sincerely on their way of turning around. You can't really make a valid argument for such things. So you can sit and blame the Republicans for everything, but you can't say, I haven't really heard anybody say like, oh yeah, because of this policy and this policy, I think things are going to be turning around in a couple of years. Like there isn't really any honest. I don't know. That would be my opinion.
You have trends forecasters like Gerald Celente, who is very out there. He's. I don't mean he's out
maybe
there.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Crazy. No, let me say. I'm not knocking the man. I mean, he's out there like Alex Jones is out there. If you want to start connecting some of these dots, well, then how about you connect the next 5 in the line? It gets tougher and tougher to stand out on the edge of that limb. You look at the mainstream media and how it's just merely more than a propaganda arm for two parties that aren't working for this country, and a lot of people say they're one party controlling the entire thing, just playing us against each other with distractions, bread and circuses, Roman Colosseums, and reality television.
Right.
That's the situation that we're in right now. And let me just say it one more time. This is from bondage to spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to complacency, from complacency to apathy, from apathy to dependence, from dependence back into bondage. And let me just say, I am not going into bondage. We need to either reverse course or jump over a few chapters of this, because this whole bondage component, where any person is subservient to other humans, that crap just isn't flying here. I'm not allowing that to happen. I can't sit back and keep my stupid mouth